The last few slides refer to other aspects of food and cuisine, mostly in English-speaking countries, but not exclusively. The first thing is the connection between food and medicine, so the diet. And here you have some covers of popular magazines which refer to very controversial issues of what food is healthy and what food is not. As you can see, we have the great battle between some doctors who say that fat and cholesterol are dangerous and they cause heart disease, and some doctors that believe that sugar is even more dangerous than fat, that fats are in fact good, and it's sugar that and carbohydrates that are dangerous, especially if eaten in excess, as in the modern diet mostly. I guess now the state of the medicine is that sugar is more dangerous than fats, especially natural fats such as butter or olive oil. But as you can see, the controversy is still there. But the more recent magazines actually point to the fact that you can eat butter, but sugar kills. Also, the great popularity of organic food, so naturally grown food, local food. These are the ongoing discussions verging on medicine and culture and ecology. So a lot can be said about food-related issues in this respect. So from the medical perspective, in medical discourse, you may remember Michel Foucault and his concept of the discourse. So the way of speaking, but especially the way of speaking affecting culture. We also have the slide with some religious things related to food, and also special occasion foods. So we have the stamps that are given on kosher food and halal food. So the foods that are accepted and deemed good by the Jewish religion and the Muslim religion. There are a lot of similarities between the two concepts of kosher and halal. So this is also an interesting thing. Why we have two different ideas and what are the differences, if any. Plus below we have two, let's say, festive meals. One is Vietnamese dish consisting of rice and I guess beans and meat cooked together in this kind of packet wrapped in banana leaves mostly, which is a traditional, typical food eaten during the New Year celebrations. So in Vietnam, all families basically gather around the table, they have a big reunion and they eat something like that. I tried it, it's very good, but it's not very popular, of course, in Europe. However, there are local festive foods, like the great popularity of carp for Christmas Eve dinner in Poland. It is connected, let's say, with Christianity and the celebration of Christmas, but each country has their own dishes, basically. This is relative to history, to availability of different foodstuffs. The fact that in Poland the most important festivities are actually held the day or the night before Christmas rather than on Christmas Day. In the English-speaking countries, the most important meal of Christmas is Christmas dinner with roast turkey usually, or some other poultry. In Poland, it's the meatless dinner on Christmas Eve. This is the big family reunion, and what people mostly eat is fish, and probably the most popular fish for that is carp. Again, a long story, you might want to Google that, why it's carp and not, let's say, salmon. But again, it's quite interesting. Then we have some historical problems, sometimes quite serious problems, relating to food consumption, food and drink. So first of all, we have this image of an Indian soldier biting off the end of the bullet. And the question is just, what exactly is this bullet grease? And it refers to the Indian Mutiny, or the Indian Revolution against the British colonists in 1857. So at the height of British colonization, when India was called the jewel in the crown, the Raj, or whatever, the army mostly consisted of native soldiers and English officers. And when a new type of bullet was introduced, the soldiers, as you can see in the image, had to bite off the end of the bullet to insert it into the rifle. And the bullets were greased with something. For the officers, this was a completely trivial matter. They didn't really care what kind of grease it was. It was some sort of fat, and that's it. But for the soldiers, this was absolutely no trivial matter. For the soldiers who were Hinduists, they were afraid this might be beef fat, and cows are sacred for Hindus, so they wouldn't eat beef. They wouldn't even want to touch beef fat with their lips. Many of the soldiers were also Muslim, and they were afraid this was pork fat. And of course, pork is not halal. This is forbidden by the Muslim religion. So again, for other reasons, because the pork in the Muslim religion is considered to be unclean, it's a taboo to touch pork fat. So when the officers did not respond properly with enough attention and understanding to these problems, the soldiers rebelled, and a major revolution, very bloody and very cruel, started, which eventually led to the complete reorganization of the British colonies in India. The second thing is the temperance movement and the prohibition in the USA between 1920 and 1933. So the legal ban on selling and consumption of alcohol. Of course, alcohol overconsumption leads to many social problems and personal tragedies, and throughout the 19th century there were temperance movements developing. Here we have a poster of one of these movements. Drinking leads to neglect of duty, moral degradation, and crime. Yes, it is true in many cases, but should it mean that the consumption, selling, and production of alcohol should be against the law? This was an experiment in America, and if you know anything about American history of this period, this led to even more problems because people continued to drink in secret, and organized crime, the gangs who imported alcohol, who produced alcohol, who sold alcohol, grew immensely, creating even more problems. So in the end, the prohibition was lifted. Just as with food, we can also have the moral problems that are still valid concerning, of course, just as with clothes, concerning the food. So here we have three very modern issues and images. For example, should everybody go vegan? Here we have this very nice picture, love, peace, vegan. Is it moral to eat food? Is it moral? Does it really, should it be done in the modern world for moral reasons? So is the suffering of animals, of farm animals that are killed for meat understandable, and should it be excused in modern culture? The next thing is wasting food. How much food are you wasting? And in the modern Western culture, a lot of food is wasted, while at the same time there are regions in the world with people starving. So the distribution of food rather than the consumption of food, where you have some people eating too much and wasting food, throwing food away, and some people being malnourished and even dying from starvation. Also, the ecology of food production. Like here, it is estimated that 6 to 12 orangutans are killed each day for palm oil. So certain products that are especially popular in the modern globalized society, such as palm oil, cause immense degradation of the natural environment and the loss of wildlife. Is it moral? Should something be done about that? So we still have very important burning issues of I would say moral relevance concerning food. So that's the end of the 3 weeks introduction to the study of material culture, and next week we will start something new. We'll start talking about the body in culture, and also family relations and parenthood as expressed and as worked out by the culture. Thank you.